Top focus this Friday morning, straight from Washington. Viewers, there's been another major blow to the U.S. India trade talks. In fact, President Donald Trump says he will not restart negotiations with New Delhi. Not until we get it resolved, he said Thursday. Now, this comes at the back of Trump unilaterally slapping massive 50% tariffs on Indian goods in retaliation to New Delhi's purchase of Russian oil, or so he says. Listen in.
President, just to follow up on the India tariffs, do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
Well, you heard Trump there. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department's principal spokesperson, Tommy Pigott, has underlined that India is a strategic partner with whom Washington engages in a full and frank dialogue, and that will continue. Here's what he said.
What it's about is an honest, full and frank dialogue about real concerns that this administration has, that the president has outlined very clearly, addressing those concerns through his actions. He's spoken about them, whether it's about the purchase of Russian oil, whether it's about the trade imbalance. Addressing those concerns is important. So the president's been very clear. His concerns about what he has seen from India speak for themselves. He's truthed multiple times about it. But ultimately, this is about a frank and full dialogue, and that's what it means to advance American interests. That's what it means to really have full diplomatic dialogue with partners to address concerns that we need to see addressed.
Meanwhile, across the southern American border, in a high-stakes diplomatic move, PM Modi has received a phone call from Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Now, just as global concerns rise over Donald Trump's tariff spree, both leaders have reaffirmed their commitment to boosting the India-Brazil strategic partnership, focusing on trade, technology, energy and defense as well. Now, with both countries hit by steep U.S. import hikes, this conversation signals deepening alliances between the global South powers who are determined to protect their economies. Meanwhile, PM Modi later called the talk meaningful and people-centric. Uria Fancelli, senior journalist, joins us straight from Brazil's Sao Paulo to get us more on this. Now, Uria, what do we make of this? The phone call, does it signal the global South coming together against Trump's tariff flip-flops?
Brazil and India, on the other hand, joined the bloc not to attack the West, but to gain more visibility and more influence. That's why this move from Trump might end up doing the one thing that the BRICS had always trouble achieving, giving the group a shared political purpose. By hitting both Brazil and India with tariffs, Trump is pushing them toward closer alignment with China and Russia inside the bloc. Countries that already saw the U.S. as a threat. A group that often struggled to speak with one voice now finds itself facing a common challenge coming straight from Washington. And that political effect is coming on top of growing economic ties. And there's already talk of India opening its market to more products from Mercosur, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay. In other words, Trump's move is accelerating South-South cooperation and encouraging countries like Brazil and India to work even more closely together. So in the end, this strategy might backfire. It reinforces the idea that the United States is no longer a predictable or reliable partner, and it gives the BRICS exactly what they lacked, a political reason to act together, not necessarily to attack the West, but to build an alternative, and that's a message that goes far beyond just tariffs. That's why President Lula wanted to call Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
We shift our focus far east, where National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin on Thursday. Now, a video released by the Kremlin press service captured the very moment Doval warmly shook hands with Putin, right there on the screens right now, before the two leaders sat down for high-level talks. Now, this key meeting is a part of Doval's visit to Moscow, signaling a deepening of strategic ties between New Delhi and Moscow. Earlier, for perspective, Doval also met with Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu. Now, the visit comes ahead of a trip by President Putin to India later this year and amid growing tensions between New Delhi and Washington. Meanwhile, listen in to NSA Doval.
You very rightly mentioned, Excellency, that we have got a very special relationship, a long relationship, and we highly value our strategic partnership. We have had high-level engagements, and these high-level engagements have contributed very substantially. We are very excited and delighted to learn about the visit of His Excellency, the President of Russia, President Putin, to India. I think that the dates are almost finalized now. The more important thing is this, that is, these summit meetings have always been the watershed points. They have always given a new direction to our relations. What is there that we can add in substance in terms of deliverables for this talk? So I do hope that this meeting at this point of time will give us some new ideas and throw up some new things that we can make the forthcoming meeting more worthwhile.
Then we stay with Russia, where in a major diplomatic development, the Kremlin says Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in the coming days. Well, that's correct. Trump recently said there's a very good prospect of a summit that could perhaps include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as well, aiming to jumpstart stalled peace talks over the war in Ukraine. Now, Zelensky, as we all know, has backed the idea, while Putin has called a meeting with Zelensky far off from now. Meanwhile, Trump's deadline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire or face tougher sanctions expires Friday, only hours from now. Meanwhile, talks could happen as soon as next week, possibly in the UAE. That's what we are picking up. Meanwhile, Russia continues heavy airstrikes, and the U.S. has just approved another $200 million in new military aid for Ukraine. Tensions are high, expectations are low, but the world is watching like it has been since February 2022. And for more on this, we are joined by commentator and author Dr. Richard Benkin from Chicago. Thank you so much, Dr. Benkin, for taking out the time and joining us here on NDTV. Now, what realistic outcomes can we expect from a Trump-Putin meet, given the deep divisions? And also, do you believe that Zelensky's willingness to engage signals a shift, or it's only symbolic?
First of all, thank you for having me on. Everyone I've spoken with, the people that I get information from, everyone here is really taking the attitude of, well, let's see what's really going to happen. If you look at the two sides, Ukraine and Russia, their positions really are so far apart, seemingly mutually exclusive. Russia invaded Ukraine with the idea of bringing Ukraine back into the Russian orbit, putting in a government that would be responsive to Russia, whereas Ukraine was moving closer and closer to NATO in the West. I don't see that as having changed very much, and I don't see either side as having given much on their position. So I think in the most generous way, we're saying, well, let's see what happens. Let's give it a shot. Maybe we'll get something good. But I don't think anyone is popping champagne bottles right now, expecting the war to end very soon.
Thank you so much for your perspective there, Dr. Benkin. Unfortunately, we'll have to stop it here due to the paucity of time, but we'll definitely follow up on this again. Now, shifting our focus to another war raging in the Middle East, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the country plans to take full military control of Gaza, but he insists that it does not want to govern the Strip long term. He's in fact said that the goal is to defeat Hamas, secure Israel's borders, and eventually hand Gaza over to a non-Hamas, not Palestinian Authority Arab force. He added that the U.S. and Israel agree on 5 post-war principles. Now, this includes Gaza's demilitarization and civilian rule by non-Israeli actors. But Arab nations have rejected the idea altogether, saying only Palestinians should and must decide Gaza's future. Hamas has meanwhile called Netanyahu's comments a coup, while critics, including Israel's opposition, are warning that the plan could prolong the war and even endanger hostages. Welcome back. You're watching World 24/7. And now we shift our focus to Canada, where a second shooting has in fact rocked comedian Kapil Sharma's Café in Surrey. Over 25 shots were fired at the Cap's Café. Now, this comes just weeks after a similar attack in July. Two rival gangs, the Goldie Dillon and the Lawrence Bishnoi groups, have claimed responsibility online. Meanwhile, a chilling voice in a video said, we called the target, he did not answer, now we've taken action. The first attack, for perspective, occurred on the 10th of July, saw at least 10 bullet holes but no injuries. Now that incident was linked to Khalistani terrorist Harjeet Singh Laddi, also wanted by India's National Investigation Agency. Reports say it followed a joke about Nihang 6 that angered some. Meanwhile, authorities in Maximum City, Mumbai and Canada are investing, with Caps Café saying it stands strong against violence and remains a place of community and warmth. Meanwhile, my colleague Maha Siddiqui joins us for more on this straight from Vancouver. Maha, first of all, what's the latest you're picking up, and are the two incidents, the July 10th shooting and the shooting last night, are they connected in any way?
So Arjun, I am in Surrey at the moment, right outside Caps Café, where the attack took place at 3 hours on Thursday. The Surrey police say in their statement that a call was made to them at 4:40 a.m. that shots had been fired at the Caps Café, a matter of huge concern because this is the second such attack within a month at Caps Café. And this time around, the damage to the property is much worse than what we'd seen the last time around. Let me quickly show you some of those damaged property visuals here, which will give you a sense of the seriousness of this attack. You can clearly see, Arjun, that the window panes here are shattered. You can even see the bullet marks there. And if I just take you across to the other parts of this property, you'll be able to see that there are at least 3 window panes that are completely shattered over here. In fact, this was the exact spot last time around where the attack had taken place from across the road behind me. As you can see, that is where the miscreants had come and had fired the shots. You can see that the Surrey police vehicles are standing here. Investigation continues. The Surrey police say that they are aware of certain claims that have been made on social media this time around by the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, claiming responsibility for this attack, but they are saying they are investigating all the angles, looking at, talking to witnesses as well as looking at any footage around this area. But the big question is that only last month, less than a month ago, on the 10th of July, there was an attack. And why was this property left vulnerable again to this attack? This is something that the Surrey authorities really need to respond to. Moreover, the fact that Lawrence Bishnoi gang itself is one gang that is under the scanner of the Surrey administration. In fact, so much so that the Premier of British Columbia, David Luiz, said that he's writing to Prime Minister Carney, asking him to get this gang, that is Lawrence Bishnoi gang, listed as a terror outfit so that authorities can deal with the threat and the menace of extortion and the threats that are being rolled out to the South Asian community, specifically in this area. The business community can be tackled more effectively. So under these circumstances, questions do emerge. They are looking at all the angles, yes.
You raised a very important point there. Of course, the visuals you showed are very disturbing. We also saw a police patrol right behind you. And very important, the central question remains, when on July 10th there was a similar attack, and clearly there was no security, these goons or terrorists, whatever you call them, the investigation will find out. They come back, they fire 25 bullets, 15 bullets more than they fired on the 10th of July. And all we see is one police cruiser in the background there. Have there been any solid measures that have been announced for not just the security of the Caps Café, which has been targeted twice in 1 month, but also other businesses in the Surrey area?
So, Arjun, the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, in fact, 2 months ago had said that there have been concerns, major concerns expressed by the business community in some areas. Surrey is one such area where there is a heavy population of South Asian community who had expressed concern about the threats and the extortion calls that they received from many of these gangs. He says that the Lawrence Bishnoi gang that operates out of India is one such gang that needs to be taken care of. And one of the ways that he proposes that they would be better armed to deal with them would be to list them as a terror outfit. But the other outfit that had claimed responsibility for the previous attack on Café is already a banned outfit. And therefore, the question arises also, how are they able to so easily have guns on them, something that is not common here in Canada for people
of course,
to have arms.
Yes, a lot of questions arising there, Maha, and clearly more talk than action or answers from the Canadian administration at this point in time. We'll, of course, keep on coming to you and following the latest developments, but thank you so much for getting us the latest for now. And with that, we shift focus, where Apple has announced that it will invest $100 billion more in the US. Now, what could be the impact on India and the rest of the world? Watch this very special report just for you.
It seems Tim Cook is the new golden apple of Trump's eye. After months of facing pressure from the US president to shift Apple's manufacturing back to American soil, the chief of the tech giant took to a path many have ventured before, booing President Trump. Visiting the Oval Office, Cook didn't show up empty-handed. Along with announcing a fresh $100 billion investment in US manufacturing, he brought a unique golden gift, a piece of iPhone glass mounted on a 24-karat gold base.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home.
President, we took that challenge very seriously. I'm glad to be here with you today, and I'm very proud to say that today we're committing an additional $100 billion to the United States, bringing our total U.S. investment to $600 billion over the next 4 years.
While it seemed like a simple glass disc, it signaled Apple's Make in America commitment and scored a big win in Trump's tariff war. Trump's new 50% levies on India have left out smartphones, a crucial factor given India recently surpassed China to become the largest exporter of iPhones to the US. Apple will also dodge incoming new tariffs on semiconductors, since it committed to building iPhone components in the US. While these high tariffs no longer spell trouble for Apple, they still hurt the tech giant, with Cook saying tariffs will likely cost the company $1.1 billion this quarter alone. In India, the tariff bite won't spoil the Apple harvest, as manufacturers have remained firm, going ahead with plans to produce the next iPhone in India. Yet with Apple pushing its manufacturing back home, remains to be seen what the future holds for Apple in India. Disha Bakchi for NDTV.
Well, it's time we slip into a short break, but news continues on the other side with my colleague, Divya.